Hey guys, you're listening to the Forestry Project podcast with me, your host, Jace McCauley. We are the source for how to better manage your land and achieve forest legacy reimagined. So let's get into the show, and I hope y'all enjoy it. Alright guys, so with that, welcome to episode 1 of the Forestry Project podcast. I'm so excited to get to be doing this. So typically how it'll go on each episode of the podcast, I'll bring on a different guest and we will discuss a topic related to either forestry, forest management, natural resources, outdoor recreation, restoration, the list goes on and on, but it'll be something else related to natural resources. However, since this is the first episode, I just wanted to get on, introduce myself, and explain what the Forestry Project is and what you can expect from the podcast and the other things that the Forestry Project's doing moving forward. So, a little bit about me and how I got into forestry. I always enjoyed being outside as a kid. I would play outside, I hunted, fished. Basically, anytime I could be outside, I was. And when I was outside, it was not only something that I enjoyed being in, but it was also something that I wanted to have my hand in protecting, managing, and being able to kind of improve it, make it better for the next generation. So I was, as any kid, deciding what to do for a career. And I found out about forestry, that I could go be in the woods every day, be able to manage the land. And it allowed me to have an impact in the world around me and have a legacy that I could be proud of. And when I talk about legacy, I understand that a lot of landowners want that too. So, kind of bringing in my own values and what I appreciate about forest management, I really want to channel that into the Forestry Project and help other landowners to be able to better manage their land. And forestry gave me the opportunity to do all that. It gave me the opportunity to create a landscape that is not only better tomorrow than it is today, but it's also better for the next generation moving forward. Once I decided I wanted to be a forester, wanted to pursue a career in forestry, started looking around at different colleges, eventually decided on Auburn, and I graduated from Auburn University with my bachelor's in forestry in 2021. That summer, I decided to actually go back and go ahead and get my master's degree in forestry as well. So I went back to Auburn to get that. And that is what I'm currently doing. I am getting my master's in forestry at Auburn, and I'm writing a thesis researching the relationships between family forest landowners and professional consulting foresters in Alabama. But the goal is to find ways to improve communication between those two groups and figure out why landowners are hesitant to hire a consulting forester and be able to spread that across the Southeast and eventually the entire United States. So initially the idea for the Forestry Project came in during my undergraduate degree, and that was when I was taking this class. It was the Forest Environment and Wildlife Leadership Academy, or the Fuel Leadership Academy. And it was a class that we were able to get into, and at the end of it, the students, their final was, we could get into groups, but we had to come up with this outreach project, some way to engage the community, showcase what the School of Forestry and Wildlife Sciences at the time was working on, what the students were working on, and me with a group of two very, very close friends came up with the idea for a podcast. However, COVID and everything else hit, and we weren't able to actually carry out the project. We just had to work up how we would do it, what we would do, and kind of get a plan together, but we didn't have to actually carry out the plan. But the podcast kind of stayed in the back of my mind. It planted a seed that I thought would be very beneficial for the community and for landowners. Well, once I got into my master's program, I looked back at all of that, looked at what I was studying, and everything just kind of fit perfectly between having a podcast to connect academia, professionals, and landowners, and now I'm studying how to connect professionals with landowners. So the podcast kind of came back into play. I wanted to do the Forestry Project podcast, but I also saw then that it was so much more than a podcast. Um, the Forestry Project was a way that I envisioned how to educate as many landowners as I could. So it started off as just this podcast, but now it is a media company essentially. We produce podcast, videos, blog posts, and I hope to increase that in the months and years to come. But my goal with it was I wanted to get out of the echo chamber that surrounded a lot of the natural resource fields and combine different ways of understanding and different ways of doing things to benefit the management of forest. The Forestry Project also kind of helps to bridge the gap between your large scale industrial landowners and your smaller private family forest landowners who that landowner may only own 20 acres and not really for sure exactly what to do with it. The Forestry Project is really for anyone who enjoys being in the forest, especially if you have forest land, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're looking to get some forest land. We're still putting out content that'll give you the tools to make you think so that you can look for a piece of land that may meet your needs. You can see potential in it. But my primary focus will be on family forest landowners who may not have the understanding of land management. And I get that on a very personal level. My family has 36 acres of forest land in northwest Alabama. And before I started getting my degree in forestry, I really was not aware that there was professional management to begin with. I didn't know that was really as much of a thing as I do now. But as I started going through my degree, I also started realizing that the 36 acres that we owned was not necessarily economical to get professional management on. We could get it clear cut, but there's not really enough land there for the traditional timber harvesting, rotational style land management where you're making enough at the end to then justify all of the other management activities leading up to that harvest. So the Forestry Project is also for those landowners who may be constrained in some way, whether it's strictly financial, you don't have the acres needed, or anything else that prevents them from seeking professional management. And to put our content out there, we are trying to do it as many different ways as we can because in my master's I've taken a few courses to try to understand how people learn, and everyone learns so differently. So that's why we're putting out podcasts, videos, blogs, and trying to make them all interconnect. Not saying they'll all be the same, but I'm hoping to share a lot of similar information between those platforms, and that way, regardless of how you like to learn best, how you understand everything better, whether you like listening to it and hearing it, you like reading it, you like seeing it. I want to do something for each landowner. So, like I said, we'll be putting out information through podcast, YouTube videos, blog posts, and then we'll have a few social media specific types of content. On Mondays, we'll be putting out Management Mondays. That'll just be a very short video on Instagram and Facebook. That'll be a quick tip on how to better manage your land. It may be a short segment of a longer video that then you're able to go get more information from either YouTube or go to the website and read a blog post, or maybe it's a short excerpt out of one of the recent podcasts that we do, but it'll be something very short but very useful. And one of the things I want to try to focus on, and especially for landowners to focus on, is with the Forestry Project, expect to have some views challenged. I'm not going to get on here and say one way is right and one way is wrong in most cases. Um, Most of the times it's not actually like that. There's multiple ways of doing different things, and each of those may or may not be correct depending on what goal you have. Now, there are some things you should and should not do, but this is not going to be a polarizing, if you're not doing this, you're not the type of land manager, we won't. We don't value you. There will be a lot of different ideas, different opinions, different ways of thinking about it. And again, like I said, not everything's right and not everything's wrong. To kind of give you an answer that I always hated getting in school, it depends. Um, Most things, it depends on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. And that's really what I want to show through the Forestry Project. If this sounds interesting to you, to keep up with content in the beginning, since I am still a master's student and juggling class and writing a thesis and doing research and everything else, the podcast will be released every other week, and that will be every other Monday at around 7 a.m. Central Time. I'm still playing around a little bit with the timing and getting everything right, but you can expect it right around 7 o'clock in the morning every other Monday. The videos will be released once a week, and those will be on our YouTube platform. They will be released every Friday at 5 p.m. And that way, the podcast kind of get the week started off right, and then the videos are a good way to end the week. Maybe give you a tip to practice over the weekend or something. If you're going out to the land that weekend, you're able to actually go out there, hands on, implement. That is by far the best way to concrete learn something, is learn it and then hands on implement it. At the release of each of the podcasts or the videos, you can also go to our website at www.forestreimagined.com, and there will be a new blog post that'll kind of provide more information, list some additional resources about the video, about the podcast, if you would like to learn more about that topic. So we have the website at www.forestreimagined.com. For any of our video content, you can go on the website and up on the tabs, go to learn videos, and it'll carry you to our YouTube page. Or you can go straight to YouTube and look up the Forestry Project. There you'll be able to find all of our videos. On social media, we will be the _Forestry Project on Instagram and Facebook, or you can just search the Forestry Project and find us that way. You can also, on the website, up in the right hand corner, there will be little icons for each of our social media platforms. As far as the podcast goes, we're trying to get it up on several different podcasting platforms so that most of your favorite platforms, you will be able to listen to it. So Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and then you can also go over on the website. But I will say, if there's any other podcasting platforms that you want it on, please go to the website and email me, or just send me an email at info@forestreimagined.com and shoot me whatever podcasting platform you want. And that way we're able to get it up on that as well. I know those are a lot of places, a lot of things to check, different things coming out, different times, different places. So to make it a little bit easier, on the website, on the homepage, you will see a link to sign up for our newsletter where you put in your email address, click submit. Then you'll be enrolled into our newsletter. We call it the Forester's Gazette, and it will be an email sent out once a month that will kind of showcase some of the latest content that we've been putting out, some of the most popular content that we've been putting out, and then just anything else special going on for the Forestry Project, either in the upcoming months or maybe a after action review of something that had happened the previous month that we're able to go back in and showcase what we were able to do with that. So with all of that, at the Forestry Project, if there was one thing that I wanted you to take away from this podcast, it is that we truly believe that creating a better forest is vital to be able to create a better world. And we believe you accomplish that through providing a platform for communication between forest landowners and professionals to provide both a better understanding of the how and the why to manage private forest land. And in managing that private forest land, our goal is to achieve forest legacy reimagined. And essentially that is not only the how of forest management, but more importantly, the why of forest management. Being able to explain not only that we're passing down better land for the next generation, but we're able to show them how to manage their land better and then explain not only just, well, we did this because so and so said so, or we did this because that's what we were told to do. It's, we did this because we looked at the land and that's what it needed. And if it doesn't need that, don't do it. And if the land does need that, do it. So that we're able to kind of think for ourselves instead of just hopping on, social media and seeing what someone else is doing and doing that. Not that that's necessarily bad, but I want landowners to be able to understand why they're doing it, not just how to do it. If you're more interested in what Forest Legacy Reimagined is, I encourage you to listen to episode 2 of the podcast. In that episode, I go in a lot more depth about what Forest Legacy Reimagined is, what we believe it is at the Forestry Project, and how we hope that landowners are able to take the content that we put out and achieve Forest Legacy Reimagined with it. And that's really the big vision of the Forestry Project, is to be the trusted source for landowners and professionals about how to better manage and enjoy your forest land. And essentially that is regardless of how you learn, whether it's written, spoken, shown, just know that the Forestry Project is committed to delivering accurate information to landowners and professionals to achieve that forest legacy reimagined. With that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to episode 1 of the podcast. I am looking forward to the things that the Forestry Project's got going on in the future. I look forward to getting to talk with you again and bring you the knowledge to improve and enjoy your forest land. Until next time, happy management and God bless.